We have the most fabulous guest today on Part of the Pack. Her name is Sonia Azad. She is a journalist, a health and wellness reporter, a yogi. The list goes on. Essentially, Sonia, you're all things fabulous. I'm so grateful for your time today.
You're so sweet. I don't, I'm a little bit of, I'm a fraction of the things that you are, my dear.
That is not true. I wanted to have you on for so many reasons, Sonia, but I am loving this initiative you put together for this year. Can you start us off by giving us a little bit of a background on you and how you came to be all things health and wellness and you're just a thing of wonder. You have such a great presence both on camera and off.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Well, I'm like, how long do we have here? The road to where we are now is long, but basically, I studied journalism, undergrad at the University of Texas, and then at grad school, Medill School of Journalism in Chicago. And I worked in general assignments. So basically, what that means, as you know, Kaylee, is you kind of go wherever and do whatever. So if there's a fire, go. If there's a shooting, go. And after about 12 years of that, I was like, man, I'm emotionally fatigued. I'm physically exhausted. I mean, you're sort of on call all the time around the clock. And another point is you meet people at the intersection of their worst days. And so it is not just a grind, it's like, it's sad and it's depressing. And so in my last job, I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And I kept noticing, and my photographers kept noticing, that I was always trying to squeeze in a workout. I mean, I've always, worked out. I grew up as a dancer. I started running marathons and half marathons, I don't know, back in 2003-ish. And practicing yoga since about the year 2000. And finally, I started working my way toward a yoga teaching certification. So once that was complete, I was like, you know what? I think I need a little break, just a mental, physical, spiritual, emotional break from all the news grind. And so I started teaching yoga in Houston, and I loved it. And life was going, very well. And that, I was just enjoying getting to sleep in. And what I mean by that is, like, everything felt effortless. For the first time, I felt like a lightness. Not having to wake up at 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning to get to work, and, all this stuff. So then I got a phone call from the station in Dallas saying, hey, our medical reporter left. Would you be interested in covering medical news? And I said, well, let's call it health and wellness instead of just telling people about all the things that are wrong, or, the disease and the sort of blah part of medicine that brings everyone down. I'm like, what can we do to help people live their best lives? What can we do to uplift people and to share these sort of tips and tricks with them? And so I've been doing this job for about 5 years in Dallas. Love it. It's so weird because everyone's like, when are you off, or when do you work? And I'm like, I don't know, because when your life sort of begins to merge with what you do at work, so your real life and your work life and your, the fun life is what I call the yoga and meditation guidance. It's all one. So I guess that's called alignment.
That's what I was just going to say. How does that feel?
Oh, amazing. But it's intentional. I had a mentor when I left my last job say, I want you to write down, like, what it is you want to do. Like be super particular, from what you want to see when you look outside of your window. How much do you want to make? What time do you want to wake up? I mean, be as specific as possible. And I'm like, this dude is crazy, but I'm closer to that now than I've ever been before. And I really think it's the power of, energy and intention, putting that behind what it is you really want. And so I started this Fitter Together group. That's what you were talking about in 2017, as a way to just share with people, hey, you can set a New Year's resolution and you can follow it through with the right support system, with a good, sense of accountability. And so we did that 4 times a year. We'd follow 4 people for 12 weeks through a fitness journey. And it was wildly popular and very successful. These people have changed so much of their own lifestyles. Well, this year with COVID, I was like, oh my gosh, how can we do this? Because usually we'd be in and out of gyms and we'd be interviewing at close proximity. And I'm like, I can't do any of that. So we're using the self-care solution. So this is a book by Dr. Jennifer Ashton. And it's basically, instead of one New Year's resolution, you do one resolution per month for the whole year. So it is like an entire year of New Year's resolutions.
I love this.
It's fun. It's really fun. So like, for instance, January is dry January. So
how's that going?
It's fine for me. I don't keep alcohol in the house. Like, I'm not a big drinker anyway. So it's probably going to be the easiest challenge for me, to be honest with you. February is planks and push-ups. I don't know how that's going to go because you do it every day. You commit to it every day. But the cool thing about doing it with literally 4,000 people who are in the group is everyone's posting about it, their successes, their struggles. And it almost brings me to tears. Some of the successes and the triumphs that people have already shared. I mean, people who have lowered their blood pressure, people who have lost almost 7 or 8 pounds already. I mean, it's amazing because I'm not doing anything. They just have felt inspired by whatever, right? And this group has taken on a life of its own. So it's people inspiring other people in their community to just live better. And they're doing all the work. So that's what we're doing.
I feel lucky to be a member because to be in that Facebook group and in that community, you really get a sense that everybody's trying to build each other up. And what you've created there is so beautiful. It feels to me like that's something that you've done wherever you've been in your career, where you have created community wherever you go. How does that feel for you, building on that? And it seems like each place you go and each step you take, you go even deeper, you dig a little deeper, you bring more to it.
So I think, thank you, by the way. That's such a sweet, kind.
It's true.
It's really nice. That acknowledgement is really nice. Number one, I love people, I really do. And I think that innately humans are good. I don't think there are such things as bad people. We say that by habit a lot, but I think that, people may make decisions that are ignorant, or that that we don't agree with, or that may harm others, but that's something else, right? Like, people aren't born bad. You have a child, your child's not born bad. So I think that my objective in terms of doing this is to share a common human experience. Like, in that group, Fitter Together, we don't talk about politics. We don't dive into anything else that's going on in the world. There are some people who are like, I've had a bad day. This is what happened. And so that's them sharing an experience on their own volition. But I think that humans need that support, and they need to be heard, and they need to also listen, right? So like, we can all talk about experiences of pain or of pleasure, of excitement, of worry, and connecting around these themes of life, I think, just naturally brings people together. So my own focus on sort of carving out that wisdom for myself has helped me to like branch that out a little bit. So when you talk about digging deeper, it's like I've had to dig deeper within myself when it comes to some of those realizations to help others discover that too.
You've succeeded. I think it's phenomenal. And I feel so lucky to be a tiny part of that community, because to see what you're building and how it's impacting people is just so wonderful to see. I want to talk about something that you mentioned when you were talking about your background and news fatigue. That's something that we have all suffered from, so to speak, in this past year, especially. you are in that every day. So although you have created this role as a health and wellness reporter and anchor, you're still anchoring the news. You are still in the station, out of the station, in the community. And also I'm sure, because I know you, consuming the news like all of us are. How do you set that aside or heal yourself on days that are especially difficult?
I used to think that I had to know about everything. And I
Yes.
think that with so much news coming in, we all kind of feel like that. Like, I don't want to miss out, FOMO, right?
Right.
But it becomes, essentially you drinking from a fire hose every day. Way back in the day, there was no Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and text and FaceTime and Zoom and all these news outlets, whether it's on TV or whether it's in print. And so people had a limited amount of time. You get to catch the news at 5 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever, and you've got four options. Well, now it's like a free for all, right? Plus the bloggers and everything else. And so you have to stop yourself. And that's a boundary that you are responsible for creating for yourself.
Okay.
So, for instance, for me now, I do not need to know everything. I do not watch every newscast. I even have a yoga teacher who said, the news that is important will come to me. And I thought, whoa, I mean, I do consume information. I mean, you want to be informed, and I appreciate people who stay informed.
Mhm.
But you don't want to be overly attached to this information in a way that it causes you fear or anxiety. And so I think that's what we're starting to see, is people who are like so attached to every little thing and every person's experience, that you're like, well, that could happen, or that could happen, or that could happen, or that, look, it's a lot. It's a lot to carry every day. So my television largely stays off. I have like appointment-based TV. I know when I'm going to catch up on the news. I listen to one or two podcasts to just stay informed. Again, I've got the Skim and the New York Times that comes to my phone, and I've got like my little routine. But outside of that, unless it's huge breaking news that requires my undivided attention for a lengthy period of time, I draw the line.
Mm-hmm. Especially with COVID, because you've been covering this for what, almost a year now?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that particularly hard, because you are required in a sense to stay on top of it? I've seen wonderful interviews that you've done. How do you separate that?
So that's a little harder. I could, if I'm being honest with you, I could stand to draw better boundaries in that space, because I live alone, and because, I don't have kids, I don't have a spouse, I don't have, my energy and attention is not diverted in that way. Right. So I think, like, when you're putting your child to bed or reading a bedtime story or giving him a bath, like, you're fully there, you're fully
Mhm.
present. For me, I'm like, all right, so let's read some more about COVID, right? But I do have to stay on top of it. That is true, because the volume of questions that have come in, and they're really good questions. People are very smart. They have a lot of, you know, sources of information, and they're paying attention to the fine detail. Um, so the volume of questions has been wild in the last 8 months, really. And because we are each so accessible to one another via social media, doesn't there's no time limit, right? Like, I get questions at 10 p.m., at midnight, at 2 a.m., at 6 a.m., at 7 a.m., whatever. So I've identified a few sources for myself that I find are, trustworthy, reliable, accurate. And I kind of stick with that. I don't branch off too much and go into all of the what ifs, because I think you can kind of, spiral downward in some of those cases. But, there's a difference also between, again, staying informed and becoming overly attached or overwhelmed. And a lot of the answers, to be honest with you, Kaylee, when it comes to COVID, are like, I don't know.
Right.
It's okay to say, I don't know. And a lot of people have a problem with saying they don't know. The best doctors I've interviewed all year long have said, periodically, I don't know yet. We don't know yet. We're studying that right now. And we have to be patient. We're not very good at being patient, especially here in the Western world. And I think that, you know, I think most people would agree with that statement. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, we're going through this for the first time as really an entire globe. And, you know, gosh, to think what we're living through and that we are all having this shared experience, to me is astonishing. And it's also going to be a lesson. I mean, we are living through history right now. So, you know, feeling okay about saying, I don't know, or we have to wait, I think has been one of the themes of 2020, certainly, and like an ongoing theme in this pandemic.
What has been the biggest takeaway for you for good this past year? What has been the biggest piece of good to come out of COVID for you?
To be honest, there's been a lot for me personally. I would say the number one sort of top thing that really shifted everything, though, was meditation. And not that I wasn't meditating before, but I received my meditation teaching certification in 2020. And our program started in March, which is, you know, I think everyone listening knows, yeah, March was when things really hit the fan, so to speak. So I thought, I went to the first class. It's like a whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, I'm not gonna have time to do all of this. There's no way. This is the worst possible timing. I can't take on a course right now. And it actually ended up being the best, because that course taught me the boundaries that I'm talking to you about, right? Like to start the day with a gratitude meditation, no matter what time I wake up in the morning, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever. And then find 10 minutes in your day, in the midday, to do, just to sit with yourself, whether it's in silence or, again, a guided meditation. And then end the night with like either a list of 5 things that you're grateful for, 5 things that happened in the day that you thought, oh, I'm so thankful for this, or I'm so glad to have heard from this person, or whatever. And what I also do is a yoga nidra meditation which helps you kind of ease into a restful sleep. So I know a lot of people through the pandemic, especially the beginning, were so overwhelmed that, you know, they were having a hard time sleeping, or they were having weird dreams and all this stuff. And so I would say my meditation teacher training helped me to create better boundaries and healthier habits for myself. And this is one of those examples where the more I buy into something, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to share this with people because I think this could help other people. And it is. I created this online library of yoga and meditation classes also in 2020. Like I said, it's been a big year. And now other people who are taking those classes from me online are like, oh my gosh, this is like magic. This really helps. I'm like, I told you. So that has been the biggest and best takeaway, is how to better take care of yourself.
There's so many different trends for health and wellness. If you could speak to somebody who's been saying, okay, I'm going to put self-care first this year, 2021, this is for me, what would you say they could start with that would be something that would be easily put into practice, they don't have to spend a ton of money on, but that could have a big impact?
I mean, I'm going to say meditation. And the reason why is because it is free. You can do it anywhere. All you need is yourself, your body, right? Your physical body, an open mind, and an open heart. So you don't have to have any, you know, fancy equipment, but there are apps like Insight Timer, Headspace, Calm. There are teachers, whether it's me or someone else. You can find someone on YouTube, beginner meditation. And a lot of times people say, I'm so bad at meditating, my mind won't stop. And what I tell those people is, look, do you just go to the gym for the first time and lift 100 pounds? No. Like, exercise is for the body, you know, when you physically work out, no matter what it is you like to do. And meditation is like exercise for the mind, for the brain. it helps you to reduce stress levels. It helps you to think and focus more clearly. You begin to just speak with more clarity, with more intention. You begin to live more mindfully. I mean, anyone out there with kids knows mindfulness even is a big sort of buzzword and theme in schools. I mean, people are using mindfulness instead of detention, which I love, by the way, or timeout. Because instead of having a kid just like stare at a wall, I want you to think of 3 reasons why XYZ was a bad idea, or I want you to think of 5 things you're grateful for. I mean, you're instilling um, these sort of thought patterns into your kids' minds at an early age, right? So I would say meditation. And if you don't even want an app, you don't want guidance, you don't want anyone talking to you, you can just set your phone timer for 5 minutes and just close your eyes and sit. You can sit in your car, which I've done. You can sit, I'm sure parents will identify with this. You can like lock yourself in a bathroom, right?
It's a pantry for me.
Yeah, pantry. Like no kid zone, no pet zone, no spouse zone. Like I just want quiet, And it's interesting to me how scared we have become of stillness and quiet. Like we're not used to silence anymore. We're used to so much overstimulation, especially in this part of our body, right? Like we've got our eyes open all day. We've got earbuds in, we're scrolling, right? Yeah. And we're eating, we're smelling things. So this part of our body is being used a lot. And this part of our body is not being used as much.
So true. Gosh,
Right?
that's good, Sonia.
Yeah. So like dropping down into that, whether it's prayer, you want to call it something else, meditation, you sit with the universe, you sit with God, you sit with yourself, you sit with just silence. That time is so important. And 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening will make a big difference.
Thank you. Okay, I know you are a very busy woman, so you have a lot going on today. I'm going to let you go as promised, but before you leave us, I need 2 things, please. One, where can we learn more of these amazing nuggets of wisdom from you? How can we follow along?
Okay, so I guess the easiest place would be my website. It's sonia-azad.com. So I have online classes there. All my social media is linked there. People can contact me. I read every email and every message. I try to respond to as many as I can, which is usually most of them. And then if you're in the Dallas area, I do teach yoga and meditation twice a week in person in studios. Class size is limited. Masks are, not even recommended. They're required. Actually, I'm like, yeah, they are. And yeah, I'm on WFAA in the mornings at 6:45 a.m.
We love seeing your beautiful face. And lastly, will you leave us with a book recommendation? We got yours from before, but I want to know, what is the most impactful book you have read in the health and wellness world?
Oh, wow. That is so good. A book called Boundaries comes to mind because I mentioned boundaries. And then another one called The Stories We Tell Ourselves. And that one is, that one's like a really good mind game, because you're like, Kaylee, have you ever been in this situation? I think all of us have, where the phone rings and it's your boss and you're like, oh gosh, what does he want? Great. It's probably about this or that or whatever. So before you start answer, your mind goes off into this, place, concocting something that hasn't even happened, may not even happen. So this book like makes you come back to that realization of like, wait, before you get away from yourself, let's bring it back. Let's identify what the issue is, because you're bringing that mind into different conversations and associations with people. And so you really got to kind of check yourself, I like to say. So that book, so Boundaries is one that checked me. And then The Stories We Tell Ourselves is another one that really checked me.
I love both. I can't wait to order them today. I am so thankful for your time. I already feel more zen after speaking with you today.
So glad. That's the goal.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I really appreciate it. I'm going to link everything below so everybody can get in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you.